All right. Hey, everybody. I am Melanie Rose here with.
I'm Kelly Geist. Hello.
And we are the Antler Queens podcast here with our second episode. And today we're going to cover Yellowjackets, season 1, episode 2, F Sharp, which interestingly has also been referred to online as Heart-Shaped Black Box, which is cute and a play on Nirvana's song Heart-Shaped Box. So I thought that was kind of cute. Before we dive into the episode, though, we've actually got a little bit of Yellowjackets news, so we thought we'd share that first. Kelly, would you like to open with some casting news that we have?
Certainly. So our favorite red herring, Adam, the actor who plays him, Peter Gadio, was just cast as Red Hair Shanks in One Piece for Netflix, live action version. And that's about all the news I have today. We also had a birthday this week, Sophie Nalise, who plays Teen Shauna. I love it, all these Aries.
Yes, yeah, hers was March 27th, so happy birthday, a little belated here, but we always like to celebrate our Yellowjackets cast birthdays, so happy birthday to Sophie.
Yes, exactly.
All right. And, before we get started into the episode, I thought we would also mention we are wearing our adorable Antler Queens merch. I've got my Doom Coming 96 shirt on, and Kelly has her Peace, Love, and Yellowjackets. If you are interested in getting some merch, I'm going to pop the ticker here at the bottom. So today we are covering episode 2, season 1 of Yellowjackets. The name of the episode is F Sharp. It was directed by Jamie Travis, written by Jonathan Lisco, Ashley Lyle, and Bart Nickerson. The episode summary: as the teens get their bearings among the wreckage, Misty finds hell on earth quite becoming. In the present, revenge, sex homework, and the policeman formerly known as Goth.
I wish they had just said Goth freak Kevin Tan, but I guess they didn't want to refer to him that way.
Yes. So this episode opens up in our past timeline as the plane is crashing. Tell us about this opening scene, Kelly.
So we open up with the plane crashing, and Van is one of the first things we see is Van is just punching the crap out of the plane to get her oxygen mask. And this is one of many instances where the universe is trying to kill Van and she refuses to die.
She's a trooper. She is a trooper.
Yeah, I think she's immortal. She's like a cat with 9 lives. And we see Laura Lee praying, and then she's holding hands with Lottie. Lottie, who is wearing her patchwork rabbit fur coat, which I get such a kick out of that thing.
And then we shift to 1992, right? We
yes.
see Misty in her 1992 bedroom.
Mm-hmm. And this gets my favorite 90s moment of the episode. Misty's absolutely spot on, perfect early 90s hair.
The curled bangs, like that curl of the bangs is impeccable.
I've seen so many shows try to recreate it, and it always looks just like way exaggerated because it's a comedy, so it's supposed to be exaggerated. But this is the first time I can recall actually seeing perfect 90s hair, that particular style, just done to perfection.
Yes, and so that is your favorite 90s moment. And, yes. Misty's entire room had a lot of 90s references. We see some heartthrob pictures on her vanity mirror. We see the book, The Cheerleader by Carolyn B. Cooney. And we think that the guys in the pictures could possibly be Corey Feldman, Leonardo DiCaprio, possibly Luke Perry, who is one of my teen heartthrob crushes. And then Misty gets a phone call. Tell us about the phone call.
First, I just want to point out the book that she's reading, The Cheerleader by Caroline B. Cooney. It was a popular young adult book in the 90s, but I really like I never read it myself, but I really liked the description. Cheerleaders are beautiful, popular, and exciting. Girls that Althea longs to be. But Althea is nobody. She gets no phone calls, shares no laughter, and has no friends. Then one day she meets him, a vampire who offers to make her a cheerleader in exchange for a simple bargain. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was an interesting choice of books to have her be reading.
Absolutely. And you know what? We hear in this 1992 scene, Wilson Phillips, Hold On. So totally nostalgic song choice there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And and then we hear the phone ring and the camera pans over to her dresser where she's got a giant lips phone and a cute little duck lamp. And by the way, she's wearing a cat sweater. I thought that I would point that out because there's a lot of cat themes going on around Misty. So she answers the phone and it's a girl named Becky. She's giggling with her friends. And she tells Misty that Robbie Delgado is telling everyone that he and Misty did anal in the janitor's closet.
Oh my God.
And Misty's response to this, they keep going and they're trying to get her. Misty was probably, this was 1992, so Misty was probably like 12 or 13 years old. And Misty's response to this is to tell her, you can think what you want, but opinion is the wilderness between knowledge and ignorance. That's Plato.
Yes, that was classic. And, she stays cool, calm, and collected in the face of these bullying mean girls. So, props to Misty for that reply. And I believe that is your MVP moment of the show, too.
That is my MVP moment, is 12 or 13-year-old Misty quoting Plato. Because I can't imagine, I can imagine Misty doing it and no other 12 or 13-year-old. But it was a great scene. I felt so bad for her because she just, when the phone rang, you saw her smile.
Like she thought someone might be calling to invite her to a sleepover or something.
Yeah.
But in fact, it was the complete opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So I feel bad for poor little Misty.
But she handled it well, given the circumstances. The Plato quote right off the top of her head like that. She's a quick thinker, and we learn even more about her quick thinking abilities as we move through the series. So after we see 1992 Misty's room, we are back to 1996. We see Misty getting up from her seat in the plane, and she sees a girl with a rod going through her neck. And Kelly, that was actually supposed to be another character. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So I was listening to an interview with Jane Widdop, who plays Laura Lee. And apparently that was originally supposed to be Laura Lee that Misty saw with the rod going through her neck. But they decided to write a bigger role for Laura Lee, which I'm really happy about because I really like that character a lot. And so fortunately, it was just a random red shirt.
Yes. And, there was a lot of chaos inside the plane wreckage. We had seen Misty trying to get the door open, Ty coming over to help her, Jackie pulling Shauna out of there as they see Van actually on fire. They leave her in there so they can try to get out of the wreckage. And then once they get outside, Shauna says, we have to go back and we have to get Van. Ty is looking for Van. And then she pops up in front of Jackie and Shauna and Van says, surprise. And she looks pretty annoyed because clearly they left her to burn to death in the wreckage. So, for me, Van in this episode is my MVP for, first of all, making it out of the plane, but then also for some of the amazing one-liners she delivers throughout the episode, which we'll touch upon when we get there. But I think that Van really hit the nail on the head in this episode. She's a survivor. She's unkillable. And I can't believe she made it out of that plane. And clearly she's not happy with Jackie for leaving her in there.
Definitely not. I kind of wish that she had pulled a James Stokes from Dexter and said, surprise, motherfucker.
Yes. Oh my God.
That would have been great. But
love Dexter. Love Dexter. And then we see Misty and she hears Coach Ben calling for help. So tell us about that scene. It's a little graphic.
Yeah. So she hears him calling for help And first of all, to everyone who's watching this on YouTube, I'm sorry, I'm trying to I'm having some lighting issues, so I apologize if it looks a little bright on my end. But anyway, so Jackie hears Ben calling for help, and she runs over. He's trapped underneath some plane wreckage, and the girls had followed Misty over, and he asks if the girls were able to move it. So they do, and his leg comes almost completely off. I mean, it's hanging by like
dangling by a thread. I mean, yikes.
And fortunately, he passes out immediately. But this was my favorite song moment of the episode, just because it's not actually my favorite song that's featured in the episode, but it was such a great moment. Misty chops off his leg, yells, "Help me move him." And then it just cuts into Mother Mother by Tracy Bonham. And that's the end of the cold open. I love it.
Yep. Misty thinks very quickly on her feet. I mean, she took a Girl Scout or babysitter first aid training course twice. So clearly she learned a lot.
Yes.
And so after this graphic scene where we see, Coach Scott's leg in shambles, we go back to the present, 1996, and we see Misty on a date, and she's listing off some of her turn-ons. Why don't you tell us Misty's turn-ons?
Bubble baths. Walks in the rain. That's fun.
Seems pretty normal.
Muscular calves.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Escalators.
Escalators. Fascinating. Knuckles. Okay, all right. And the last one.
And steamed clams, because obviously.
Yeah. So that's an interesting list of turn-ons. I think that says a lot about our friend Misty. And her date Stan looks pretty uncomfortable and keeps trying to leave. And, Misty, with her pressuring ways, is able to talk him into one more drink. And then they look at the dinner menu. This guy wants out of there, but Misty somehow keeps, drawing him in, and this date keeps going. And then we go back to the past again. We go back to 1996.
I have to say, let me ask you, what online dating site do you think Misty prefers?
Ooh, top of my head, I mean, it's got to be, I would think, Tinder for like the quickies, I don't think she's a Match.com girl, because I can't see her looking for a quality relationship. It seems like she's more in it for the hookup, my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think she probably does use Tinder. But I think she also, here's my theory. I think she also likes to, how on Facebook, people will create profiles of you and copy your profile photo and all of your friends, and then try to spam them with some crazy links.
Yes.
I think she does that. And I think that's how she tries to get dates.
Oh, that makes sense. I would not put anything past Misty when it comes to really anything, but especially her dating life. That is an interesting rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
So we are back to 1996 at the plane wreckage. We see Misty starting to take charge, and Akila asks her how she knows all of this. And as I said earlier, she took the Red Cross babysitter training class twice. And as we start to see, she kind of lives for this, savior role play. She wants to be needed, given her history of being bullied. She just wants to be accepted. And I think this role for her, kind of being in charge and helping everybody, really feels good to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then she goes to check on Ben's leg. She says the bleeding has been slowing down, but they need to disinfect it. This is, of course, his leg has been mangled. And Laura Lee looks at Nat and says, hey, maybe somebody brought some contraband, because obviously everybody expects Nat to have a giant bottle of vodka or something, which of course she does. And then my friend Van, my MVP from the episode, finds some Sea Breeze, awesome 90s reference, love that, yes. And suggests using it. And it's funny because we see Jackie kind of like fighting, like, oh, that's mine, don't use it. And Van just kind of shoots her a look, and, Jackie shuts up because, they're in the wilderness. So get over it, Jackie. Get over it. Yes.
Yeah, the look that Van gives her is A+.
Yep. Yeah, and then Ben asks how bad his leg is. Misty starts talking, and Taissa cuts her off and tells him, Misty's doing a great job taking care of him. They just don't want to tell him yet that Misty actually chopped his leg off with an axe, which I really loved when she did that because she didn't hesitate. She just went for it, and that speaks volumes of Misty's character. She goes for it. She dives in. She chopped a leg off, no problem. Good for her.
Yep. Absolutely. I don't know that she's somebody I'd want to hang out with, but I wouldn't mind having her come to my aid in a car accident or something.
Yeah, I mean, they would be kind of lost without her. So it's interesting in one situation how she's, kind of a bullied weakling. And then in this situation, she's a complete hero. So
yeah,
dynamics are interesting depending on the environment. And then we come back to 1996 and we see Shauna driving and she calls her daughter and they have a funny exchange.
Yeah. So yeah, Shauna calls her and says, "Hey, it's me." And Callie, always so snarky. Yeah, I know. Do you not know how phones work? And Shauna says, "Are you home?" And Callie says, "Maybe." And she says, "Do you not know how being home works?"
That's really funny.
Which I love.
Yep. And then Shauna asks her daughter, Kelly, to defrost the meat. And then she gets into an accident because, she's on her cell phone. She should not be on her cell phone. Yep. And, Shauna and the other driver have a little interaction. And this is one of our favorite characters, Adam, a red herring, as you mentioned earlier.
Yep. Yeah, and she was just terrible to him. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, I had a flashback of her interaction with Jessica Roberts from episode 1 when she calls her a smug bitch. She's also a complete bitch to Adam in this scene. Adam ends up writing the number of a body shop on her arm and says the guy there owes him a favor. And then, Shauna writes her number on his arm, which is an interesting way to exchange information. And then we cut to Jeff and Shauna in therapy. And this is an interesting scene. Clearly they're having some struggles in the bedroom and their therapist is giving them some advice. So what's their homework assignment?
Their homework assignment is to not only have sex, but to share a fantasy with each other, something that they've never shared before. And their response was hilarious. Shauna just starts protesting. She goes, "No." And then Jeff just cuts in with, "Awesome."
Yeah, so he's clearly into the homework assignment. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see more of that, once we get there. But in the meantime, we cut to adult Misty still in the present timeline, and her date Stan is driving her home. Mysteriously, his car wouldn't start, so he ended up having to give her a ride. So that's interesting. I mean, car trouble.
Yeah. It's yeah, I think her car worked just fine.
Yeah. Car trouble we see again with Misty in the future here. Sure. And so then she invites Stan inside and she says, you could meet Caligula. And then Misty, kind of goes into like guilt tripping him inside. And then, as she, actually we see a photo in the background, which it could possibly be the soccer team photo there. And then continuing with Caligula, Misty says, "Now Caligula's a little protective of me, but it's all for show. He's a total sweetheart, really. But do shield your eyes if he comes at your face." As she proceeds to turn her lights on with a clapper. And then who do we see?
We see Nat. She turns on the lights and she's sitting there with her shotgun and immediately says, "Hello, Misty, you crazy fucking bitch." And Stan immediately says, "Okay, I'm out of here."
Yep. So he gets out of that date, avoids having to sleep with her. And, this scene with adult Nat and the shotgun is one of my favorites of this episode, I think. It's interesting. I guess it has a scope on it. And something about, I was watching it with my husband and he said it's interesting this type of gun would have a scope on it because something about it's either a long range or short range, but typically there would not be a scope on this gun. So I don't know if it's just like a prop thing or if there's something to it. But anyway, that was my husband's commentary on this scene.
Interesting.
Yes. So then they have a little exchange, and tell us about the exchange between adult Nat and Misty.
So Natalie says, I'm guessing you know why I'm here. And Misty says, the postcard. And she shows the postcard and kind of tosses it at her and says, yeah, the fucking postcard. And Misty tells her that she calls her silly, which Misty's super calm during this whole scene, and she's just kind of laughing it off. And Nat's sitting there with a shotgun on her, and she's just like, I think she's just happy that somebody's there.
Yeah, Misty does not seem worried about this shotgun in her face for some strange reason.
Yeah. And so she tells Natalie that she also received a postcard in the mail, but it was put in an envelope and was postmarked online, so they can't really trace it back. And she then goes into her kitchen, into one of her cabinets, and pulls out this gigantic file of everything that she has on the people who are part of her suspect list.
Yep. And, it turns out, they head to a dive bar and keep discussing, all of these things that Misty has. And she mentioned she's a citizen detective. And speaking of citizen detectives, we sell citizen detective merch in our antlerqueenspodcast.com shop. So if you're interested, go check it out. Rock your citizen detective merch.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, and they're in the bar, and Nat's, knocking the drinks back, and they're discussing who could possibly have sent this postcard to them. And Misty's kind of showing her all of the evidence she's collected, and Nat pulls out a photocopy of a driver's license and says, "You found Travis." And what's interesting is the driver's license. It's issued to a John Garcia in New Hampshire. So, and Misty says, talk about someone who didn't want to be found. So he's going by a different name now. He is in New Hampshire, so he's not terribly far away, but he's, not in the state. And clearly he's been trying to live off the grid. We also see Jessica Roberts's business card, so we know that she's talked to Misty. And Misty doesn't believe she's a reporter. I'm sure she did some digging on her. And then the bartender offers them both a free drink from the gentleman in the back and says to Natalie, it's your drink of choice. And over walks this really good looking guy. Mm-hmm. And he just seems really surprised to see Natalie. And we find out it's Kevin Tan, her best friend from high school.
Yes,
the Goth dude that she was seen doing LSD with at the party. And she just completely blows him off. I mean, like, she's almost offended by his presence. And he just tosses his business card and says, call me if you ever want to have a drink in another 20 years. And they then head out the door, and Misty pockets his business card on the way out.
Yep. And then we are, again, back in the present. We're in 2021. We see adult Taissa coming home with food. Her wife, Simone, isn't thrilled that she missed the parent-teacher conferences, and they already ate dinner. And Simone is concerned that their son, Sammy, isn't making friends after the teacher had kind of commented on that. And Ty, of course, says, do we know for sure that other kids don't suck? And basically, kind of saying that, she was kind of a loner at his age and there's nothing wrong with self-reliance. So this kind of sets the table for, the Sammy situation, which is an ongoing thing throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to Jeff and Shauna's bedroom, and it looks like they are trying to complete their homework assignment, and it's not going well.
No, it's not. This is one of my favorite exchanges in the entire show so far. They're getting ready for bed, and Jeff is like, I was just thinking it'd be kind of hot if we did that fantasy thing, and maybe you pretended to be a customer at the store. And so,
yes,
Jeff's fantasy is for his wife to buy furniture.
It's very interesting.
And so they start getting into it, and she says that she puts on a British accent and says her name is Tabitha.
Weird name choice, by the way.
Yeah. And Jeff introduces himself as Hank, the owner. And she said she was there to return her armoire.
It was too big and she should have taken measurements, and that insults Jeff a little. He thinks that she's making fun of him, and then he sees the number written on her arm, and she had not even mentioned to him that she got in a car accident earlier in the day. And he says, like, what's the deal with the arm? And she goes into the car accident thing, and Jeff doesn't like that. So he ends up leaving and says he's going to go jerk off and watch SportsCenter before bed. So I would say they received a D- on their homework assignment. What grade would you give them?
You know what? I would also give them a D-, but I got to give Jeff a little extra credit though for being so into furniture.
He loves furniture. He clearly loves furniture and his inventory database and all that. So yes, it is funny that his fantasy involves furniture.
Yeah.
And then after this failed homework assignment, we go back to the past and we see Jackie telling Shauna she's sure that Van hates her now. And, actually, I've got a good pic to show here. I think this is, Van just kind of given that dirty look to Jackie. And I missed the Van Seabreeze moment earlier too, but I thought that we should give a nod to Seabreeze for that 90s reference too, while we're back on Van quickly. And then we see Laura Lee. She finds her teddy bear, Leonard, and she seems very, very happy about it until something spoils that moment for her.
Yeah, she's hugging the teddy bear and she sees a couple of drops of blood trickle down onto it. Mm-hmm. And she looks up above and it's Coach Martinez. And he is impaled in a tree. I mean, the lower half of his body is just gone. He's clearly dead. And she screams, all the girls come running and they start trying to figure out what to do.
Some troubleshooting, problem solving. And I think I like Jackie's suggestion, not because it would be effective, but just because it was really funny. She suggests throwing rocks at him.
Yeah. And then, and then Ty seems a little shocked by that, but Van Jackie then says, I didn't say rock, someone's shoe or whatever. And Van says, oh yeah, that's a fuck ton smarter. You're on fire today, Jackie. Oh wait, that was supposed to be me.
Yes, and that is one of the one-liners I was referring to that makes Van my MVP for this episode. She is on fire with the one-liners and not on fire because she survived and got out of the plane. So
yeah,
go Van.
I love Van so much.
Mm-hmm. Same. And then Laura Lee suggests lowering him with ropes. And then Nat says, for fuck's sake, Laura Lee, we're not going to Tarzan him out of the tree. So, they're just kind of going back and forth, figuring out how to get this impaled coach out of the tree. And then we see Travis actually running up and climbing the tree. Clearly he's, having an adrenaline moment because he's not really in his mind to think of, climbing this tree and climbing out onto the branch, which eventually we see going to snap. Luckily he gets out of the way in time and, his dad ends up falling out of the tree and it's a little bit hard to watch there. But then we see something here. We see the symbol on the tree. Again, seen the symbol on the postcard and speculation about the symbol. There's been a lot of talks that it's part of a hobo code. Nobody actually knows what it means yet. So it's funny, people like rocking bumper stickers and gear and all and not knowing. But I think some people are just, so into the show and the symbol that, it's becoming quite a visual and mystery for the show.
I lost 2 hours a few weeks ago looking up everything as to what it could possibly be. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's a easy rabbit hole to get sucked into.
It sure is. There's a lot of speculation on that symbol. So it'll be interesting in season 2 to see if we are able to gain any more insights into that.
Mm-hmm.
But, that camera pan with the symbol on the tree just starts weaving in that symbol even more. Obviously, we've seen it in the postcard too.
Yeah.
So, everything they do is intentional. So I believe that there was a reason they showed that there.
Yeah.
And then after Coach Martinez, falls out of the tree, we're back in the present, back in 1996, and we see Sammy and Ty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Sammy is just kind of sulking in his room, and he wants Ty to read to him, and he refuses to open his blinds. And Ty makes a comment about it being like Dracula's crypt in there or something, and she tries to get him to perk up. She suggests going to the park, and he says he doesn't want to go because he doesn't have any friends. And she sits down and she starts doing shadow puppets with him and makes him guess. And she starts doing a dog, which she suddenly sees turn into a wolf with teeth. And she gets really freaked out. And she kind of like goes into a trance for a second there. She snaps herself out of it and then goes over to his window, opens up the blinds, and there's some really disturbing drawing.
Really disturbing. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's a little shocked by this. And she says, "Why did you do this?" And he says, "So she can't see me. The lady in the tree, she watches me at night." And Taissa asks her to tell him what he means. And she says his name, Sammy, and he starts singing, "Sammy, Sammy, Sammy." It's really creepy.
Very creepy.
But
and it goes with these images on his window that he drew. They're very dark. There's all these creepy eyes. There's these like shadow phantom figures. Everything looks very dark and very evil. And I mean, it's really sad to see, these are the images living in Sammy's brain right now. So there's clearly a lot to unpack with everything going on in Sammy's life right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, Sammy's a little tormented. Poor kid.
Yeah. Aw.
Yeah.
And then after that, we cut to Shauna's house in the present, and she gets a phone call from Adam.
Yep. And he's eating a sandwich when he calls her. Like, manners. Hello.
I know, like, chew your food and finish, right? Like,
I know. I would have, I don't care how hot he is. I would have hung up on him.
Yeah. Respect yourself. Respect yourself. Totally.
Yeah. But yeah, he says that he was calling because she didn't call the body shop. And she asks how he would know that. And he says, "Because I'm the guy that works there. I thought the surprise would be adorable."
Yeah. And so she declined. She says no. It seemed like she wanted to say yes, but she said no. And then she sees a rabbit outside, goes outside, kills it, and she takes it inside to cut it up. And she does that because her daughter failed to defrost the meat. So this is going to be her dinner option for tonight. And what I loved about this was the way she described, how she was cutting the rabbit. She said from chin to anus. I mean, I love her vulgarity. There's just something like so natural about the way she delivers these sometimes, raunchy or, very F-bomby lines. So I we see the rabbit theme again here with Shauna. And from chin to anus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so she's slicing it up and pretty efficiently too.
She's very good at it. And, we have this thing we do with each episode where we have a most likely to, and this moment for me was Shauna is most likely to crush it on a survival reality show such as Alone. She'd be the one that can do all the hunting and all the butchering and all that stuff. So, speaks to Shauna's skill sets here.
Yeah. And and then we cut to Nat's hotel room, adult Nat's hotel room, and this is really my favorite song in the show. I love this song.
I love this song too.
It's not my favorite song moment just because I thought Mother Mother was so perfect. But I love this song. She's just drinking and she calls Travis. and he answers the phone and says, "I'm sorry, you have the wrong number." And so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he recognized her voice.
I mean, he has to have, they had obviously an entailed history together, and I'm sure he did, and he was just trying to play it off. So, what happened with Nat and Travis? What's going on with Travis? Why is he hiding? This, mystery box just creates even more questions, right? So we find out Travis is alive and hiding, but, he doesn't want to be found. So why is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we cut back to Shauna's house in the present, and they're eating chili. They kind of talk about her new recipe, which of course is the rabbit that she slaughtered from chin to anus earlier. And they really seem to like the recipe. So thanks to Callie for forgetting to defrost that meat.
But I love how they blow it off as she's just joking,
Right. Yep.
They just assume that she's being a smartass and joking that she killed a rabbit and put it in the chili, but
right.
No, she's serious.
No, she's very serious. And then we hear the song Glory Box by Portishead, which is actually my favorite song choice from the episode. I loved how they used that to get from, the Shauna eating chili scene back to the past with the girl sitting around a fire, and we see Van eating corn nuts. And again, Van's my MVP. We have another solid one-liner here. She's eating the corn nuts, and then Jackie suggests maybe they should conserve food. And so, Van says, "Oh, you want to save the corn nuts?" And, again, alluding to the fact that Jackie wants to save the corn nuts and, maybe conserve the sea breeze. But when it comes to getting one of their teammates who are actively on fire out of a burning plane wreck, forget it, which, I get in a way. It could have exploded. Yeah. She wanted to get her and her friend out there. But at the same time, they probably could have reached in and grabbed her. So Van clearly has a lot of bitterness going on surrounding this situation.
Yes. And major props to Liv Hewson for the way they delivered that line, because it was just the look on her face and the delivery was just perfect.
Spot on. Van is totally my MVP for this episode. I'm going to keep saying it because she earned it for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we come back to the present again. We are at Shauna's house, and Jeff is doing his finances. And it looks like they're going to do a do-over here for their homework assignment. Shauna comes up and says she's in the market for a new bed, and it needs to be sturdy. So she should probably test a few options. So, good for Shauna stepping into that role play and trying to fulfill her husband's sexual fantasy. I think that's great wife material there.
So I wonder if that means that they had sex on like multiple surfaces in their house.
It's very interesting to wonder about Jeff and Shauna's sex life, maybe prior to when they got in this rut. So who knows what that history is like. We do know their teenage sex was, of course, in Jeff's car.
Yes.
So, interesting to see how that has morphed into adulthood. And clearly they're in a rut right now, but hopefully this will help keep things up.
And just playing on Jeff's fantasy, my pick for MVP for this, or I'm sorry, not MVP, but most likely to for this week was Jeff for being the secret founder of FurniturePorn.com.
Yes.
If you have never heard of FurniturePorn.com, please check it out. The guys that run it haven't updated it since like the late 90s. But I was shocked and delighted to find out that it's still around. And it's absolutely hilarious. You might be thrown off because it actually does look like a really bad porn site. Like you might start getting pop-ups like crazy or something, but don't worry. Everything is safe for work. And you won't get any crazy pop-ups, but it's hilarious. You have to go check it out. FurniturePorn.com.
I loved that. I had never heard of FurniturePorn.com until, we were kind of messaging about it, and really spot on with your most likely to this week, Kelly. I think, that website is hilarious. When I visited it, you were absolutely right. It looks like a legit porn site. Instead it features, furniture pictures though. Not
pictures
actual
of furniture,
porn.
getting it on.
Yes. So yes, FurniturePorn.com. I think that was a really solid pick by you today, Kelly.
Yeah, I mean Jeff's sexual fantasies apparently involve buying furniture. So
Hey, on brand, on
Yes.
brand. And then we come back to our past timeline, back to 1996 again. We see the girls at the fire, and Laura Lee is saying the crash is all her fault because she kept screwing up on her piano lesson, and her teacher kept yelling at her, F sharp, F sharp. And so she called her a cunt. Laura Lee called her teacher a cunt. And that doesn't seem like the type of thing sweet Laura Lee would ever say. And she did it just in her head. Like, she didn't even actually say the words out loud. It was just like she called her, the C word in her head. And so she feels that God is punishing her for this. And everybody laughs. It's funny. It really infused some humor into the situation. And then some of the girls go on to say the reasons why they might have caused the plane crash.
Yes. And and Laura Lee was so serious about it too.
Yeah. Like, she really thought that she actually had the power to cause a plane crash just by thinking the word cunt.
Yes. But yeah, everyone starts laughing, and so she starts laughing along with them. And then Lottie blurts out that she steals shitty clothes from TJ Maxx and returns them, and she now has thousands of dollars in TJ bucks. And
I love that. And I love TJ Maxx, just for the record.
Yeah. Jackie's was my favorite. I used to sneak downstairs after everyone had gone to bed so I could watch The Color of Night and pause it on Bruce Willis's wang.
I loved that. I loved that line. I thought that was hilarious. Good for Jackie. Good for Jackie.
Yeah, for sure. And and then Jackie turns to Shauna and says, "What about you, Shipman? You got any secrets big enough to crash a goddamn plane?" And Shauna just looks terrified. Like, because, she does have a secret that she's hiding from Jackie. She's been sleeping with her boyfriend. And they are saved by the bell, or in this case, saved by Coach Ben screaming. And Misty had just chopped his leg off. Or no, I'm sorry. She chopped his leg off earlier. She was disinfecting it, is what I meant to say.
And she finally told him that she had chopped his leg off, because up until this point, Coach Scott had no idea he was missing a leg. So this is when he actually learns that his leg was chopped off, but he's, not out of the woods yet. Misty did save his life. And then Misty actually cauterizes the leg wound, which looked extremely painful, and Coach Scott passes out.
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad he's passing out a lot through all of this, at least, because poor guy, man. He's had a bad day.
Yep, absolutely. Like, really literally the worst day. Literally the worst day. Oh my God. And then after we see that nice wound cauterizing, we cut back to Shauna's house and Jeff's house in the present, and they're in bed. It looks like they successfully completed their homework assignment, and this time I think they earned an A. So good for Jeff and Shauna.
Yeah, let's give him an A.
And Jeff says, "Thank you for shopping with us, Tabitha," and he goes to take a shower, and Shauna hears a noise on Jeff's phone and picks it up to look at it. Now, mind you, she doesn't actually log in, and, she just picks it up and it's on the screen. So it's not like she's searching through his phone. I mean, she heard a text, at night, and picks it up, and it's from Bianca. And what does the text say?
It says, tomorrow, usual place, 4 p.m. Don't be late.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not what you want to see,
After having sex with your husband.
Yeah. And, and they've been in a rut. They haven't been having sex, and, they had a nice moment there, and, looks like they were on a good track. And then she sees that. And...
Yep. So Bianca, fuck you, Bianca, for, messing with Shauna's husband. And, we'll learn more about that situation as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are... actually, we go back to the past again, and we see the girls sleeping. Misty gets up and she goes for a walk. She needs to use the bathroom, and she overhears Van and Laura talking and saying, "Thank God Misty's here. We'd be so fucked if she wasn't." And that was a really validating moment for Misty. You could just see in her eyes that, everything she's done has been leading up to this. Whatever about all the bullying, like, she was made for this situation, and she feels really good about being the savior. So that was an important moment for her to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, I get the feeling like she doesn't usually feel like people want her around. And in that moment, she overhears people just expressing extreme gratitude for the fact that she's there. And so she smiles. We see her smile. She's pretty happy about that.
Yep. And then we're back in the present again. We're back in the 2021 timeline. We see Natalie leaving her hotel. And second time in the episode, a car won't start. Coincidentally, Misty shows up and she happens to have 2 coffees with her.
Yeah,
Interesting.
pretty fishy.
Pretty fishy. And Nat tells Misty she's planning to take a trip up north to see Travis. And, Misty says she had some errands to run, but she can take her up there. It could be like a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the next line. I thought that was really cute.
Do you prefer podcasts or show tunes?
Yes. And then we hear, for the second time in this episode, Hold On by Wilson Phillips.
Yes.
Great song, and I love that song. Not my song choice of the episode, but second time we hear that song here. And we then go back to the past timeline, and this scene is incredibly important.
Mm-hmm. Misty finds the flight recorder, and you see this look of excitement on her face for a second. You think like, she's like, oh my God. And she could, that could add some value to her. Like, hey guys, look, she could tell everyone I found the flight recorder, but she decides to try to up her stock in a different way by destroying it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's their beacon to the outside world. That's the thing that's going to get them rescued. And right there in that moment, when she destroys that flight recorder box, she destroys basically all hopes of immediate rescue.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
And this was Misty getting drunk on power for sure.
Yep. I mean, she had just heard, that they'd be fucked without her. So, she's taking complete ownership and control of the situation. And, unknown to the other girls, she's controlling all of their fates at this point. So that was a very telling scene.
It's, it hasn't been revealed to us yet what the girls know, if they know that she did that. But I find it interesting that when she shows up at Nat's hotel, Nat does not want her driving. No. And I mean, because Misty's essentially a kidnapper.
Yes.
And, she makes it clear she does not trust Misty to drive. So that's kind of interesting. I wonder if that has to do with but Natalie seems to have some control issues as well. So who knows?
Yes. And towards the end there, my favorite 90s moment happened. And that was when Lottie opened up her caboodle and she took her medicine out of there and took a pill. We know that Lottie has some mental health issues and requires medicine. And she's obviously got a limited supply. So that kind of sets the table for, what's going to happen, if her medicine runs out. But for me, what I liked about that moment was the caboodle. I actually have a caboodle here in my background. I've always been a big fan of caboodles. I love caboodles and everything about them. So I really love to see that in the episode. And, also smart product placement. Yellowjackets has been really smart with all of that. I mean, just in this episode alone, we have caboodles, we have sea breeze, which they actually say out loud, corn nuts, which they show and say out loud. So they're very smart with their product placement in Yellowjackets. So props to their marketing and advertising team.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes. For sure. So to recap some of the music from Yellowjackets episode 2, F sharp, we heard Hold On by Wilson Phillips, which we actually heard twice, Medusa by I can't read it on the screen, but Medusa by the Noonday Devils, Kick It by Peaches and Iggy Pop, Cherished Nostalgia by Devin Norris, Confetti by Ben, and my favorite was Glory Box by Portishead. And then Kelly, your favorite song wasn't listed here. That's weird, right?
Yeah, they didn't list Mother Mother by Tracy Bonham, which I'm not sure why, but obviously that was included in there. But one song that we did not mention in this episode yet that we also didn't mention last week is the theme song. which it's not an actual full song. It was written just for the show. There's not a longer version available, but you can download it. It's called No Return, and it's by Anna Warrenker and from the 90s band That Dog, and Craig Wedren from Shudder to Think. So, you know, you got a couple of 90s artists doing the theme song, which I think is really cool. I really like the theme song a lot.
Yes, I do too. Absolutely love it. The first time I heard it, it's just one of those things that like stays in your head and it gets you excited. Of course, I like all the music so far from Yellowjackets, and every week we're going to talk about our favorites.
Yeah.
And something we did this week a little different. We connected with the Instagram account Yellowjackets Vines, and first I asked them what their favorite show or their favorite moment from this week's show was. Riley is their name. And they chose Shauna's start of friendship with Javi. Like when she takes him away, after his dad falls out of the tree and everything, we really see that like nurturing side of Shauna and this initial connection, between her and Javi. So I thought that was a really a smart choice. And I'm going to actually put up their handle here so you can follow them. They are at yellowjackets.vines on Instagram. And we're also nice enough to create a little video for us. So I'm going to play that quickly. Actually, they made two, so I'm going to play both of them. Here we go. First one. Yeah, so that was the plane's black box with the door, and then Big Bird busting through the door, and it said Misty feeling validated. So I thought that was kind of cute. And then we have one more, very similar. Yes, and we see, Misty bringing a date home, that same door smashing open with Big Bird, and then we see Nat with a shotgun. So very cute. Thank you for that. At yellowjackets.vines. We appreciate you doing that. Go follow them. And, if you like to make funny memes or little videos from Yellowjackets, please send them to us. You can send them to us on our social media handles. We are, Kelly is at Antler Queen 7 on Twitter. I am Medium Melanie on Instagram and Twitter. And we are at the Antler Queens on Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook.com/the Antler Queens.
Please send us anything that, any memes that you have, or quick little videos, or even just if you want to record a couple of seconds of your thoughts about the show. Just anything you want to send us,
your favorite moment, your favorite song, your favorite 90s nostalgia nod, whatever it is, share it with us. Eventually we're going to start having fans pop on once we kind of get in the groove here. But for now, please do share anything with us. We'd be happy to shout you out here. Fan art. Yes, I did a post on our Instagram account this week featuring some of the fan art that Showtime had posted, and there is a lot of really great stuff out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of really great stuff, we also have some really awesome merch. I'm going to pop up a couple pictures. Again, I'm wearing my Doom Coming 96 tank top. Love it. Kelly has her Peace, Love, and Yellowjackets hoodie on, which is just adorable. And I'm going to pop a couple more designs up here. We've got the There's No Book Club design available on all different items. The Citizen Detectives mug that I've been drinking my coffee from today. We've got stuff with our logos on it, the Antler Queens, some really cute mugs. Again, this was Kelly's design, Peace, Love, and Yellowjacket. So shop at antlerqueenspodcast.com. Let's see. There we go. And I think, that's it for the episode F Sharp. Next week's episode, Kelly, tell us about what's coming up next week.
Next week we we'll be back and we'll be covering episode 3 called The Dollhouse.
Yes, can't wait. So again, if there's anything you want to share with us from episode 3, thoughts, nostalgia songs, whatever, let us know and we'd be happy to shout you out.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to hear it.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in this week. This is the Antler Queens covering Yellowjackets, season 1, episode 2, F sharp. And hey, Kelly.
Hey, what?
Buzz off.
Buzz off.
Antler Queens out.